I just looked at the total on my credit card statement and I felt my knees give out. $284. That is not just a grocery bill. That is $284 of my future. That is the exact amount I needed to finish my emergency fund, the thin wall between me and a complete financial collapse. I stood in the middle of the aisle holding a bag of overpriced organic almond milk I didn't even want, staring at the fluorescent lights like they were interrogating me. How did I get here? I walked in to buy eggs and bread. I walked in with a plan. But then the music started. That slow, dragging version of a song I haven't heard since my senior prom, and suddenly my legs weren't mine anymore. They were moving at the pace the store owner wanted. My brain, my logical, rational brain that prides itself on being immune to marketing, was completely offline. I am not exaggerating when I say I was a puppet, a high-functioning, debt-collecting, sleep-deprived puppet. And the terrifying part is that you are probably walking through the same maze right now, thinking you are the one choosing what to put in your cart while your subconscious is being steered toward a cliff. It is exhausting, isn't it? The constant pressure to keep up, the feeling that even when you're doing everything right, working the extra hours, cutting the subscriptions, tracking every penny, the math just doesn't add up. I used to pride myself on being the guy who had it all figured out. I followed the gurus, I read the books, I kept my spreadsheet updated to the decimal. I treated my weekend grocery trip like a tactical operation. I would walk in, grab my staples, and get out. It felt safe. It felt like I was in control of my own little world. But then there were the days when I was tired. Not just physically exhausted from the job, but soul tired. The kind of tired where you just want the world to stop for a minute and give you a hug. And that is exactly when the stores catch you. They know that when you're tired, your defenses are low. They know that your logical mind is the first thing to shut down when you're stressed. And they've built an entire architecture, an entire sensory environment specifically designed to exploit that specific version of you. I remember one Tuesday evening, coming home from a 12-hour shift, my brain felt like static. I stopped at the store just to grab something quick for dinner. I was walking down the produce aisle and the music was playing. This soft, rhythmic, slowed-down melody. It felt comfortable. It felt like a warm blanket. I remember thinking for a split second that the store had excellent taste. That was the first warning sign, and I missed it. I didn't see the trap. I saw a comfort zone. I spent an hour in there. I bought things I didn't need, things I wouldn't even eat, all because they were positioned in a way that felt familiar, in a way that made me feel like I was rewarding myself for a hard day. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I deserved it, but I was lying to myself. I was paying for the privilege of being manipulated. And the irony is, I was paying with the money I was supposedly saving to buy my freedom. We're all living in a cycle of trading our hours for dollars, only to hand those dollars back to the people who designed the traps in the first place, all because they know the exact frequency at which our resistance breaks. Then came the day the bubble burst. It wasn't one big dramatic crash, it was a slow, painful erosion. I checked my bank balance to pay the rent, and the number was lower than it should have been, way lower. I started going through my transactions one by one, looking at the pattern of my spending over the last 6 months. It was like looking at a crime scene where I was both the victim and the perpetrator. I saw the grocery bills, the small, frequent charges, the impulse buys that I barely remembered making. I felt sick. I realized that for every hour I spent working to make more money, I was losing 2 hours of my life to a system that was engineered to take it from me the second I let my guard down. I sat in my room, in the dark, and for the first time, I felt truly scared. Not scared of not having enough for a new phone or a vacation, but scared that I was never going to get out, that the deck was stacked so high against me through psychology, through environmental triggers, through these invisible strings, that I was destined to stay in this cycle forever. I spent 3 days in that state. I didn't want to leave the house. I felt ashamed. How could I, who thought I was so smart, so aware, be taken for such a fool? I looked at the reflection in the mirror and I didn't recognize the guy looking back. He looked tired. He looked beaten. And then something shifted. It wasn't a sudden burst of motivation. It was a cold, hard, quiet realization. I realized that the music wasn't just music, it was a weapon. I realized that the store layout wasn't just design, it was a map of my own weaknesses. And if I wanted to win, I had to stop playing by their rules. I had to become the architect of my own environment. I started researching. I started looking into the science of why we do what we do, the deep primal wiring of the reptilian brain that ignores our logic and goes straight for the emotional trigger. And I saw the threads. I saw how the tempo of a song dictates the speed of your stride. I saw how the scent of freshly baked bread pumped through the vents bypasses your rational brain and creates a phantom hunger. I saw the mechanism of the trap, and once you see the mechanism, it loses its power. I had to change everything. I became a fanatic about my own reality. I realized that if I wanted to save my future, I had to protect my present with everything I had. I started wearing noise-canceling headphones everywhere, not just to listen to my own music, but to create a barrier, a wall of sound that they couldn't penetrate. I stopped listening to their curated, dopamine-inducing soundtracks and started playing my own. I set the tempo to a higher rhythm, something that kept me moving, something that kept me on a mission. I treated every trip to the store like a high-stakes mission. I had my list, my tactical objective, and I refused to deviate. If it wasn't on the list, it didn't exist. I stopped looking at the end caps, those glittering displays of impulse buys. I kept my eyes on the shelf level I needed and moved with purpose. I stopped looking for comfort in the aisles and started looking for utility. It felt weird at first. It felt antisocial. But then I looked at my bank account at the end of the month, and for the first time in years, the number was going in the right direction. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about the power. I realized that when I took control of my environment, I took control of my mind. The world is full of people who want to steal your attention and your resources, and they are masters at it. They have teams of people, psychologists, data analysts, artists, all dedicated to figuring out how to push your buttons. But they only win if you let them. They only win if you allow them to set the tempo of your life. When you slow down, they win. When you look for comfort instead of progress, they win. I had to learn to embrace the discomfort. I had to learn that the feeling of wanting something right now, that immediate hit of gratification, is just a chemical signal, not a command. I learned to talk back to my own impulses. I learned to recognize the feeling of being steered and to choose a different direction. It's a daily practice. It's a constant battle. But it's a battle I'm finally winning. You are not failing because you're lazy or because you're bad with money. You are failing because you're playing against professionals who have spent decades learning how to break you. But you have something they don't, the ability to become conscious of your own programming. You have the ability to pause, to breathe, to step outside of the trance. You don't have to be a victim of the environment. You can build your own. You can define what your life looks like, what your values are, and what you're willing to trade your time for. It starts with a simple choice, the choice to stop being the passive recipient of their marketing and to start being the active navigator of your own destiny. It starts with the realization that every dollar you don't waste is a brick in the wall of your own future. And that future is worth more than any impulse buy, any comforting song, any temporary hit of retail dopamine. I want you to stop for a second and think about the last time you bought something you didn't really need. Think about how you felt in that moment. Was it a feeling of actual joy, or was it just the relief of a tension you didn't realize you were carrying? Now think about what that money could have been. Think about the peace of mind of having an extra cushion in your bank account. Think about the freedom of knowing you are not beholden to the system. You have so much more potential than you're giving yourself credit for, but you have to guard it. You have to be the gatekeeper of your own mind. It's going to be hard, and there will be days when you want to give in, when you just want to let the music carry you away, and that's okay. We all have those moments. But don't let it become your permanent state. Don't let their traps become your reality. I'm telling you this because I wish someone had told me years ago. I spent so much time chasing a version of success that was handed to me by the very people who were taking my money. I want you to have something better. I want you to have the clarity of knowing exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. I want you to be the one holding the map, the one deciding the pace, the one in total control of your own life. It's not an easy road. It requires discipline and it requires sacrifice, but the payoff is the only thing that actually matters, your own sense of agency, your own sense of self. You are not a number in a retail database. You are a person with dreams, with goals, and with a future that belongs to you and you alone. Don't hand it over to a grocery store CEO. Don't let a slow song dictate your financial worth. Stand up, turn off the noise, and start taking your life back. It's waiting for you, but only if you're willing to fight for it. Every time you walk into that store, I want you to remember that you're in a fight. And for the first time, I want you to fight to win. Keep your eyes on the goal, keep your pace fast, and keep your wallet closed until you've earned the right to spend. You can do this. I know you can, because I'm doing it, and if I can drag myself out of that hole, so can you. Keep your head up, stay focused, and don't let them